Space Engineers, welcome back to Hephaestus Prime. Wellington 6012 here. How's everybody doing? I hope you're all well. So off to a bit of an early start today. Got quite a big day ahead, lots to do. But first of all, as you can see, the flyer is a little bit different from the last time you saw it. I just made some alterations off camera, nothing major, mostly cosmetic. So first of all, there are the winglets. The flyer did feel quite unstable. It just felt like a little block and twisted quite easy. Now with the winglets, it just feels a lot better. Of course, purely cosmetic. It's made absolutely no difference to the handling. It's all in my mind, but yeah, just sort of feels better and can get a better grasp on the sort of angles and whatnot. As I see underneath here, a few extra batteries. I'll just put some little batteries in. There's about 5 of them in there. That just gives a little bit more power and a little bit more range. And up the front there we've got a programming block, which I'll talk about in a second. The other thing was I just moved, for more aesthetics than anything, as I just scramble with the spectator cam, I moved the engines that were up the top there and moved them down the bottom, so I think that just sort of looks a whole heap better, so I'm really happy with how it looks now. Now I've also visited the trading post this morning and got a contract to provide some gravity components, which there are some over in Treasure Island over there. But even though I'm just going that way, I'm not going to start there today. I'm going to do some aerial photography, starting with the base camp, which is where I started my journey, and sort of following the trail, taking some photos along the way. Then I'll merge those photos together and create a map for those big screens in the command center, sort of documenting my journey. I have downloaded a couple of mods to help out with this. First one is this HUD compass up the top here, and that's by Z Killer Proxy. And even though I'm not showing on the screen there, I have liked it, and I encourage you to do that as well. Subscribe and like and favourite it. Then this program block that I put in, that's for a script that I've downloaded. Now this one's called Automatic LCDs 2, and that is by M Master. Now this is quite a good one really, and I think is going to be most useful for my inventory management. But for now, I'm just going to use it for one thing, and that's altitude, because I do want to get the same altitude for the photos. Now this isn't altitude above the ground, this is altitude above sea level. So I've popped that script in there, and then I'll just go into the control seat and put the tag line code, whatever you call it, which is altitude C, one word. And then hopefully I should be able to see the altitude on my, wrong button, on my screen, which is not working. What am I missing? So I've got that on script. Oh, that's right. I need to put LCD in these square bracket things, so it registers. And now, there we go, altitude. So 1,300 meters above sea level, whereas I'm similar sort of height, so that must be sea level. I think it's just a coincidence that those heights are pretty much the same. That is sea level there, that desert floor. So I'm just hovering over the top of the approximate location of the marker of where I want to take a photo. Doesn't matter too much because it's not that GPS marker that I'm going to use. What I'm going to do is create another GPS marker at the same altitude for all the photo locations, so that it's still be approximate, but it'll be a bit more accurate in regards to the distance and angle between the other GPS points. Try and keep them within sort of 5 or 10 Ks, just to rule out the curvature of the planet as well. And I'm going to use triangulation to figure out where the photos go. The benefit of that is that I can pretty much plop a photo anywhere on the map. I don't need to take photos of every single square piece of ground and then knit them up. I can pretty much know an approximate location. So if you're interested about that sort of thing, the triangulation used for cartography was invented by Giovanni Cassini back in the 16 or 1700s. Louis XIV got him to make an accurate map of France, because before then they were all just sort of art really. So using visual points, hilltops, those sorts of locations, and measuring angles using a protractor and known distances, you can make quite accurate calculations with mathematics and trigonometry to figure out distances and whatnot. So we're just at height now, at 5,000 meters. In fact, I've overshot a bit. It's one of the drawbacks of only having that single ion thruster on top, is it does take a little while to sort of stop the inertia of going up, especially when it's empty, because this is reasonably powerful, the upward thrusters on this. So we'll just drop back down. And what I need to do is take a bearing from this location in comparison to my other known points. Now the altitude won't be right, so I can't really do distance. I don't think that distance is going to be accurate. I can take the bearings, which, just looking at the compass with the degrees on it, which I've got open on another screen to sort of convert it, is 178 degrees. And then over to Treasure Island, the pirate base, 210 degrees. So we'll move on, I think, to that sort of drill site. Actually, no, hang on. No, we won't. We'll stop, we'll back up, and we'll take a photo, which is the whole reason that we came out here. Gosh, almost forgot. We'll just back up. The other thing is I'm jotting down these bearings and that sort of thing, and looking at that compass to figure out which direction they are, and I will be taking measurements a bit later on as well, so probably will be a little bit of chopping and cutting with the edit if you see the clouds sort of jump a bit. So I'll take a photo of that. I'm just going to stick with the vanilla camera. I know you can get a mod to clear that up, and yeah, I do want to sort of limit the mods that I've got in there. I want to stick true to vanilla, and I'll probably lose the HUD compass apart from when I want to do this type of aerial photography. So that's GPS created for this particular location, which will be a reference point to base the other bearings off. So I'll head over to the next location. It won't be directly over the top of the drill site where I drilled that ice and magnesium on, I think, the third night on the road. But I'll just make a beeline for Treasure Island for the pirate base so that my angles aren't too far off. I'll just go straight this time and hover overhead. So there is the drill site. You can actually see the drill hole just to the right of the crosshairs. Now we're just about overhead, sort of eyeballing to get it level using the altitude indicator and that turn indicator, that round circle thing on the right hand side of the toolbar. That's pretty good. Just need to check the altitude. Yep, altitude is fine. So I'll just make a GPS location for this spot. Just line that up a little bit more, get that across here right. I'll call this one the magnesium drill site, just for reference. I'll put this XYZ on the start just so the GPS names go to the bottom of the list and it doesn't sort of clog up my list. Although in saying that, what I'm probably going to do is keep the save for the aerial photography separate from my normal save. It's not going to make any impact on the game progress or progression. It's just purely for ease of use, organising, and just to keep things tidy, I think. I don't think it's cheating and still stays in the spirit of the game that I'm doing. So that photo's done. Just getting the bearings before I go. I don't need them from the base camp because I've already got that. And then I shall move on to, I think, the high peak. A little while later, I am now at high peak. Well, overhead of high peak, just gaining a little bit of altitude to get the right height for my photo. I'm not going to take a huge amount of photos around this valley. I'm just sort of going to go over the pirate base and then back to the beast. And I won't show me taking snaps of every single one, otherwise this episode will take a while, because it is taking me a little while to jot down all the things. So next I'll head over to the pirate base, that former pirate base, now Treasure Island. Just quickly do a GPS on this site before I go. It's a fair bit of distance, so I will do one halfway across, maybe bottom of that ramp that I used to get up out of the canyon. I'm just kind of picking relevant points of interest. I mean, that's not a specific relevant point, so it won't be marked on the map, but you know, it's as good a place as any to put a photo to join the dots, as it were. So I'll head over to the pirate base, the former pirate base, get it right, Treasure Island, take a photo of that, and of course I'll do one halfway along, but I think we'll probably end up skipping across there because that's still a little while away. I'm overhead above Treasure Island at the right altitude, just about to take a photo, but I've just realised I've almost made the same mistake again. It dawned on me while I was doing that photo at the bottom of the ramp that I need to have the right orientation for the photos. I need to be pointed in the same direction for all of them. So aiming north and take the photo so that they're all the same orientation, it'll make life a lot easier when it comes time to paste them, because this is the idea of putting in the groundwork now, is that to add to the map would be really simple. So I'll have to go back and actually do those first three base camp, the magnesium drill site, and high peak. I'll do those probably off camera. I'll make another trip and sort those out. So I've loaded up that GPS. I shall lower down to Treasure Island and land there and have a bit of a rummage, and also I think recharge my batteries for a bit. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make it home on this charge. Touchdown. It's quite a long way down from 500 meters. You need to be careful to control the descent, not to overcook it and crash, which I didn't do, just for the record. This is the first time I've landed. So just looking at putting in a temporary connector. I have got a little bit of a plan of how I want to disassemble this outpost once I return here, a proper return to Treasure Island. This is merely a visit to Treasure Island, so just going to move this connector, use the existing system, but I'm going to move the connector back a block because I don't think I can quite fit it in without taking the railing off and poking my nose over the edge. So I'll just get these lined up. So I'll need the connector to recharge, and also actually I'm just having a bit of a thought here. I'm going to need to put in a piston so I can raise it to the right height. Yeah, so I'll get rid of that one and put the piston in. Yeah, and for transferring the items across, no steel. I know where there's some steel. There's some right there. I'll steal that steel. Okay, so just got the components to finish that off. Now plug up this hole so I don't fall down it, because that's exactly the sort of thing that I would do. Well, as demonstrated, lucky I found the jetpack button pretty quick. It's a long way to walk back from the that's a point actually, it's a very long way to walk back from the nearest med bay, but anyway, that's all connected up now. Okay, so I'll just jump in the flyer and move that over, line that up a little bit better once I press the right button. Just hover over and back a little bit. That should be right. Put it on the deck and I'll just slide it back into the connector. Now, raising and lowering the connector to get to the right height, I did download the Build Vision, the mod, to help me do that, and that would be super fantastic in this little spot here, but I forgot to turn it on when I started up the game today, so oops, maybe next time. So I'll just creep it up this time. Just get that going and adjust it. There, that'll be fine. Just connect it from here, don't need to jump into the cockpit. Down, there. Okay, we'll just transfer some stuff in the inventory. Just be able to transfer it from in here now that we're all connected up. So yeah, I did take out a contract with the trading post, and for gravity components, I 38 of them. So I'll transfer them across. I'll just open up Fly, get rid of all this rubbish out of there. I'm sure I can do without these components for a little while. Can always make more. Now that Gatling turret doesn't have any ammunition in it. There's those med kits that I put in there earlier as well. I'll have to put an oxygen bottle, spare one, in my cockpit storage as well while I'm here. The reason being that at 5,000 meters altitude, it's actually a little bit thin, the oxygen. Yeah, I was sort of struggling for breath a bit, was running low. So how many is that? That's 32, 37. Just put one more in here. One. Okay, I'll jump back in the Flyer and we'll head back to the base. Take a bit of a scenic route and head via that lake and just see what the access is like. Because I do need to get some ice for the beast, because that's the other task for the day. I don't seem to be moving. Am I unlocked? Yeah, I'm unlocked. Everything's on. Why am I not going anywhere? Okay, switch everything off. Let's have a look at this inventory. Oh, that'll be why. Look at the weight of those gravity components. Yep. Okay. I'm gonna have to make 2 trips, because that just wasn't even remotely taking off. It was just like it was stuck to the ground. So I'll chuck 17 of these back in to the container, and I'll have to come back for them. I'll just chuck this one out of my inventory as well. Okay. This time maybe. Ooh, she's a bit sluggish. It's a bit heavy, but it's doing it. Okay, we'll just have to be very careful with the thrust going back, that we don't use too much power. 23 minutes, we should make it back. What was I saying? Yeah, so we'll go back, just scope out some of the terrain, whatever direction it is from the base. This whole time, since I've been doing this series, I've always thought that kind of the direction I'm going now is north, but actually it's been south the whole time, so I'm on a completely different orientation than what I ever thought I was, so it's really mucking around with my sense of direction at the moment. But anyway, yeah, we're just going to follow this terrain, I think. And I want to swing by that lake that's just near the trading post, because I'm going to have to take the beast down there. As I was mentioning sort of late during the episode last time, that I've not got a lot of battery power left in the beast. So one of the other things that I'm going to do is just looking at that automatic LCD mod, as it does have capacity there for monitoring your inventory and that sort of thing, as well as your power levels. I've got a couple of screens that I put on last time. They're already in there, so I'll show you when I get back, and I can monitor the power levels. And I'm going to have a bit of a muck around with the timers for the hydrogen engine as well, because it's been problematic. I've had it once or twice even, definitely once, where it's just turned itself on by itself, which is really odd. I've gone in and my hydrogen's just been all gone, so I don't know what's causing that. So anyway, a little bit of distance to go back. Just looking over there to my right could potentially be a way to go, because I am scoping out a track for where to take my journey, where to set up a permanent base. Yeah, so I'll fast forward over this and I'll come back to you when we get to the lake, I think. So I should be finishing the fast forward about here, just scoping out these ramps. This one's not looking too bad getting into the lake, but it kind of just in the middle there gets a little bit rough, so I'd have to go across on the sort of diagonal. Might be a little bit rough. There is that gully just over to my left there. Looks like there is a green, sort of a green stream bed going up. If I can keep to the green grass, that seems to be a lot smoother than that yellow terrain. Yeah, it's not looking too bad up there. I should be able to get down there right. It's of course not getting down that's the issue, it's getting back up again. I think that'll be right. Because there is only the one way in, down the south end of the lake. I did slow and have a bit of a look there, and it looked pretty rocky around all the edges. So really that's the only place to get in and out. And I am keen to get down there to stock up on my ice and hydrogen. Now, I don't know if you could tell, but when I was down the south end of the lake, I was slowing down to have a bit of a look, and yeah, this flyer is heavy with all these gravity components. It was just very slowly drifting down, so you notice that I'm having just to keep the nose up, so that as well as the upward thrust, also my forward thrust is just helping me to maintain altitude, which is going to be interesting when it comes time to land on the beast. Now I'm just sort of on my final approach. I'm going to have to sort of line up and make sure I'm in the right spot, because I think I'm only going to get one go at it. It is more of a drift, so I don't think even if I make a hard landing it's going to do any damage whatsoever, but it's just more getting in the right spot to start with. Once I commit, I feel like that's going to be where I'm going to end up, whether I like it or not. So here we are on final approach. We'll give it a nudge. And just passing that trading post, my thoughts are also to these gravity components, how I'm actually going to trade them in, finish a contract, because they all need to be in the sort of same inventory, I think, or the same vehicle, so I can't really split them up. Have to have a bit of a think about that. That might be a problem for future Wellington, I think, because I haven't even got the second half of them yet, but I'll just throw them in the beast for now, so. Alright, we'll just very gently drift our way down here. At least the batteries lasted, but I am glad I got that top up at Treasure Island. Got me back nice and safe and sound. He says when he hasn't actually landed yet. Now just coming in for these last few meters, essentially I'm just coasting and I haven't got any thrust on whatsoever, apart from what automatically is being done by the dampeners. Touchdown. It just seemed to push off that deck, which must be how I got up off the ground at the other end. It must be just a bit of a pushback mechanic on the thrusters, which was good. So anyway, we're back safe and sound. I'll load these gravity bits into this inventory for storage, and then we will sort out the power situation for the beast. Now you may notice that the shadows are a little bit longer now. It's getting on into the afternoon. I did do some things before I headed off down here, as well as once I did get underway there was a few things sort of flapping about. So there was one or two hinges that needed locking down that I built since I got here and haven't actually travelled with, so that's all good though. However, what did take a little bit of time is just putting some timers in for the hydrogen engine so I can do it in bursts and manage that a bit better. I have got a button panel ready up the front that I put in last night, which I'll be able to program up now using those timers, so be able to turn the hydrogen engine on and off, but also put the timer on. Also build in that when I'm not sort of doing it, there's a timer always repeating, making sure that that engine stays off, because that's just been really problematic. So it's a recurring timer that will just do that. So part of that of course is if I do want to run it, I need to switch that timer off and remember to turn it back on. So a little bit tricky there, but hopefully I'll get time to explain that as I go through it, because it is getting quite late in the day. And when I say late in the day, I mean late in the episode. We've got through quite a bit today. Although I was sort of hoping to do some work on the LCDs, but that's going to have to be a task for next time, so that will be a focus. Got to still do some work on the maps, and I'll do that off camera, go back and revisit some of those GPS locations and take some more photos with the right orientation of the camera and start to map those together, knit those together I should say. yeah, I'll try and get some visual aids for when I'm explaining exactly how I do that. And yeah, instead of my just vague talking about bearings in this and that direction, I'll put something on screen so it gives a better idea. So now that we've managed to get down here into the ice lake, we'll go across to the far end because there was a little bit of ore resource that I saw there, so I'll go and check that out. Not that I actually need any ore. I'm pretty happy with what the beast is carrying at the moment, and it's pretty much finished now. Apart from some of these screens and one or two things on the command deck, I think it's pretty much there. I will be publishing it once I sort of am decided that it's finished. One of the things I might want to do is just with this whole power thing, potentially put in a reactor. That's something I might look at doing as well, because I will have to unlock that advanced refinery in order to do that, but I think I could just throw one together over at the pirate base, might be easiest, and then just cut it back down. There's a whole lot of things that I'm sort of planning to do and continue on the journey, but I will need to figure out exactly where I'm going, so I'm going to have a bit of a fly around and find a location and a route to get there so we can do that final push and find a permanent home base and get building with something a bit more substantial. Okay, just unstowing that drill arm, and much to my relief, it seems to be threading through that little hole and not clipping on anything. It did seem quite heavy and slow to lift up, but I did have to readjust the hinge a little bit. But anyway, the ore here, magnesium and silicon, so nothing to write home about. I think we're right with that. I do actually have an awful lot of ammo. I was looking at it before, just for the handheld gun. There's heaps of it. I must have picked it up from Treasure Island. I might even have to break some of it down potentially, there's so much of it there. But anyway, just making a little bit of a hole in the ice and going to leave it there with it running so that I can just back the beast up if I need more. Now this is exactly what I was talking about before. This hydrogen engine has just started by itself. Now I know that I turned this off because I went down to 50% in the fuel tank and stopped it. I didn't do any more. I definitely didn't turn it on, and yet here it is, it's turned on. So I don't know what's going on there. It's just absolutely bizarre. So hopefully these timers will sort that out. So you can see one there, and I must have misnamed the second one because it's not showing on the list. But there seems to be filling up quite nicely. So how much ice is actually there? It's a fair amount from what is a relatively small hole, so yeah, that's cool. Alright, might just grab that scrap iron out of there. Just, I don't know how it sort of accumulates in that ingot container. It's a bit bizarre, and just the way the sort is set up, it doesn't bypass it and go back into the refinery. But anyway, let's go and sort out these battery indicators. Now you would have just seen me leave the engineering deck full of hope and promise. Well, I'm up the front now, and an hour and a half of raw footage I've cut down into this very short montage. Firstly, the mod is an awesome mod, the automatic LCDs that M-Master has put together, so certainly highly recommend subscribing to it and definitely ticking that like button. It's got so much to it, and just trying to figure out exactly what I need. So I was doing something on the screen for about 30 seconds, and then I'd have to read for about 10 minutes trying to figure it out. So I managed to figure out the power graphs and how they all work. So they've got the graph and the percentages, and I ended up putting that on the other screen because this button panel was sort of blocking it a bit. And then just I thought for this left hand screen, try and get the hydrogen, so everything, all my energy needs in this one corner to be able to monitor it, because yeah, certainly the hydrogen tanks is something I want to keep an eye on. So it did take me a little while just to figure out the actual what correct term to use, but got there in the end. And then I also put the ice in here as well. So yeah, this, when I get my sort of full base going, this is just going to be absolutely invaluable for monitoring what I've got. Tried to sort of hook up the hydrogen engine, and that does actually sort of appear on the power consumption, and I did put it in this left hand screen as well. Sounds like, according to the instructions, the hydrogen engine isn't just quite set up right for M-Master to be able to actually build it into the script. Now I should have just mentioned that I also used one of the programming blocks that's in the server room at the front there. I've got the blue background for now, but there is the potential to have a bit of a sort of graphical type background to this. I tried some of the ones that are available in the base game and they just didn't quite look right. So apologies for a little bit of a rush job through the setup there, but it really was a bit of a learning curve for me. So moving on to the hydrogen engine and setting up this button panel with timers. So yeah, had to put in a couple of extra timers just to take into consideration the auto turn off to make sure that the engine stayed off, because yeah, it just turns itself on. But really awesome having it actually up on the screen and I can see what it's doing. I can see the level of the hydrogen tanks, because of course that's the problem with using the hydrogen engine, is it just absolutely sucks the hydrogen tank dry and you can't get it back out of there again, which is a bit of a pain. So I've set up that 5-minute timer again, so it activates when you turn it on and then sets the timer for 5 minutes to turn it off again, and also that puts the batteries in and out of recharge mode. But I had to additionally turn off and then restart the engine auto off. Yeah, it was a little bit tricky. With that in mind, I also did a couple of, they still use timers, but essentially manual on-off buttons. That's for those times where I manually want to activate them or deactivate them. So what I might do is, just about done with this little short montage, I will show you through the finished bits and pieces, a very, very quick tour, and then sign off until tomorrow. So here's my completed button panel. Still got a slot left there on the left hand side. Got the nice little screens at the back. I've just checked the timer, it is actually running at the moment, so you can see the engines are at 100% and the power's at 100%, and the hydrogen is just staying where it is because the O2 generator is keeping up with all the ice in there, 2,500 K of it. So this should turn off any second now. Maybe now. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so that's all good. And yeah, I can just turn it on, which is not such a worry now that all that information is actually there in front of me, because that was always the problem, turning it on and then you'd have to dive into the control panel to find out, you know, how your levels were. So to have it in front of you and turn it off just as easy. And there we go. And I'll start that timer again because we're still only at 39% power. So alright, well tomorrow we'll get on to this map that's on the wall behind me. And get that all sorted. So as always, thanks everybody for watching. Hope you are enjoying it. Stay safe out there, and I'll catch you next time. Have a good one.